So yeah, what I wanted to talk about was last weekend. I didn't do the After the podcast live, but what I wanted to talk about is focus, priorities, and responsibilities. And it was something that was on my mind for a while. And I think I want to say a lot of men, because I don't want to sound like I'm the only one here, but I'm assuming everybody, especially with the world and everything kind of going on right now, is that for men specifically, for me specifically, how about that? Is that I have a ton of responsibilities, a ton. And I know a lot of people have it. I'm not sitting here trying to talk about like, oh, woe is me stuff. It's like, I put a lot of these responsibilities on myself. So like here, making the video content for the Smart Writer Training Manual on the writingsmart.com website, huge responsibility. I've been in the works for over a year or two, basically at this point, coming up with a syllabus and a way of learning and learning how to teach, learning how to learn, coaching habits and everything when it comes to the logical progression of uh, how to ride a motorcycle and how to learn like a skill set. And I've talked about the Fitz-Posner model of learning for a while. And it's really tough to teach somebody how to ride a motorcycle without being in person with that thing. I mean, I've learned how to sew. I've learned how to do a bunch of different random things around the house just by watching YouTube videos. But I mean, if I sew terribly, it just looks kind of terrible. Just takes a little more practice. If you mess up riding a motorcycle, there's an opportunity to crash and then damage a multi-thousand-dollar vehicle and your bodies. And so like it's a high risk thing. And so to make it as simple as possible, it's been a lot of work in the process because you could just go to the MSF and a lot of risks are kind of gone. You don't have to buy the motorcycle. They provide it. If you drop it, they fix it. It's not a big deal. You pay a small fee compared to buying a motorcycle yourself, and then after 2 days, you get your endorsement. Basically, if you pass, you still have to go to the DMV to take it, the card that they give you. But the only thing that you're investing in is your time, which is those 2 days, plus the like the pre course that you take online before that, and it's only like an hour or 2 hours. And so it's very easy. So like when it comes to creating the training manual, you're having to really focus on um, taking these bigger risks. And so the responsibility that I feel like I have is to limit those risks for you so that you can learn how to do it. It's still, no matter what, at the end of the day, it's a higher risk. Um, so when it comes to that, I've just been really heavily focused on the filming. Every time I go out to film, I'm like, oh, I could have done this differently and everything like that. I think that's how everyone does content creation and whatnot. But it's a huge responsibility just on the training manual. Then there's the responsibility of showing up on Tuesdays now. It used to be Fridays, but Tuesdays now when it comes to this live stream when we go over crashes and close calls, because I like to see you guys and there is some kind of, hey, he shows up, we get to hang out and do that stuff. So, sticking to the commitments. And then shipping and fulfilling, making sure I go at least twice a week. So I got some stuff here. It's Tuesday. I'm going to ship out, and then I come back into the office on Fridays to ship out, or Saturday mornings. So there's that responsibility. And then that's just work. And it's a lot because I do all the filming, I do all the editing, I do all the writing of they're not necessarily scripts, but the film plans. And then you got the bills involved with all that stuff. And then like I said, I'm not complaining. I'm just sharing the responsibilities that I have because I absolutely love doing this. It's just a lot. And then it comes to the physical aspect. So I talk about physical, mental, and spiritual disciplines that we focus on, body, mind, and spirit. And so like working out, making sure you stick to routine, having the discipline to get to working out, eating as good as you possibly can, obviously have some treats here and there. Taking care of your living space so that you feel, relaxed in your nervous system so that you aren't stressed out. You don't come to a home that's stressful to yourself. And we're talking specifically for someone that, lives by themselves. So there's no real help when it comes to that. So making sure you have the upkeep on that, dishes, laundry, cleaning everything. And a dog is a nice little responsibility. Thankfully, my dog is pretty easy, but she had some GI problems this in July or in June. So that was interesting. And then the mental aspect of always trying to learn more, and I'm glad that I aligned it with work. And then the spiritual aspect, I mentioned how, yeah, I mean, like going to church and like if you want to go to the religion route for spiritual, but really I believe spiritual is relational, is relationships. And when it comes to relationships, you're kind of tested on the things that you have done. So as long as you're taking care of yourself, like I said, the physical and mental, and then the work, it's kind of like it's like a show and tell when it comes to relationships. And then on top of that, maintaining relationships, and even first off, starting relationships are incredibly difficult because you're learning people and they're trying to learn you, hopefully. And that can involve friendships, your family, romantic relationships. And then when it comes down to like actually having them, maintaining them. And so when I talk about responsibilities, focus, and priorities, I can go in the work mode and try to do everything. Like I can put on tons of new responsibilities when it comes to work, and then it just becomes overwhelming. Like you might, for those of you, because it's a little different since I'm doing this on my own. For a lot of you, it quite literally is, like a W-2 thing where you're an employee. So like if your boss is putting a ton of responsibilities on you, it's overwhelming. Like there's only so much you can do in your 8-hour shift or whatever it is. And then when it comes to my stuff, I'm the boss. I'm also the employee basically, and I put on a lot. And that can also apply to the physical stuff. You go to the gym a little bit too much, you start damaging your body, hurting some tendons, ligaments, and muscles and whatnot. Maybe you can go a little too hard on eating right and then feel guilty when you have a treat. And then the mental stuff, you could just be constantly burning your brain out trying to learn new things and not necessarily being able to apply them in that spiritual area with relationships. And with relationships, you can have like 20 friends, you can have a ton of friends, and then you're taking on emotional loads here and there. You're trying to maintain and keep up, but then you start falling out with like 10 of them because you can't keep up with the text messages because everything else is so you can take on a ton of responsibilities and it can be too much. And it's really about your capacity at that point. Some people have the capacity to do everything I just said, and some people don't. And some people are trying to build the capacity to have like a lot. So like a high agency person. But at some point it's just a lot. And at the end of the day, you still have a responsibility to just yourself. Just yourself. And so if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't serve anyone else. So that's the responsibility part. So the priorities and focus part, the priority is like, well, what's for the work for me specifically? It's like, well, what's the one thing that everyone needs? Like, not everyone needs to have like all the amazing ideas I have in my head and have written down. And so like the priority is like, okay, let's get people how to ride a motorcycle. Let's get that information out. Let's show up on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's kind of it. I really want to focus more on the Discord, but it's self-sustaining, so they're doing pretty well. I can pop in every now and then. I don't need to make that a priority, but I want it to be a priority. Same thing with working out. It's like, I don't need to do a bodybuilding show. I don't need to do a powerlifting event. I don't need to do any of these things. I just want to keep my body healthy and strong so that when I get older, I have the musculoskeletal system of somebody that's a little younger so that I don't have a fall risk. If something happens, like I'm able to keep up with other people. I'm able to do the things that I want to do, like hiking and going on some of these events. And then the mental stuff, it's like, I don't need to learn everything. I just need to kind of like, what is it that I need to focus on? What's the priority here? Like, what am I dealing with now that I need to work on versus what's a future problem that I don't even have right now that I'm trying to prevent? And that's where the focus kind of comes in. The focus is paying attention to what the priority is, not what the responsibilities that are, not all the responsibilities given to you or that you put on yourself, and kind of simplifying life so that you can relax. And so like my focus right now for work, it's specifically is the Smart Rider Training Manual, but I've divvied it up to, and I'm going to announce it, where it's going to be multiple different small courses. So like a motorcycle gear 101, ride along with Dan and the Fireman. So that's all the situational awareness, planning stuff. And then all the skill set stuff, like in a parking lot, an apartment, a neighborhood, that's going to be their own courses. And the motorcycle test prep, that's going to be its own course. And I was really trying to make the website like its own individual courses, but it's also a membership. And then here's the shop so that you can get the booklet. So like, like the Smart Rider games and the rescue booklets and everything, all the different books that I have. But I wanted like a digital version on the shop or on the website. And so really just kind of changing responsibilities, priorities, and focus and everything is that on writingsmart.com, how you doing, Hog Rider? Writingsmart.com, it's just gonna be a membership site. Right now you can get the Smart Rider drills for $19. It's a download and everything. But it's just gonna be a membership site. So if you want to sign up and become a member right now, there's the founder's role. It's $60 a year, but it's gonna be bumped up to $120 a year pretty soon. It's gonna be a membership site, and you get all these courses with the membership. And I'm just gonna focus on making an online motorcycle club with that membership. And then the store is gonna have the digital downloads and the physical booklets and all the other stuff. And it's just gonna be like the store. So think of it as like a gym. You sign up for membership, you get to hang out and work out and all that stuff. But then there's the shop where you can get supplements and T-shirts and whatnot. So that's the shop. That's the books. When it comes to the physical fitness, nothing's really changed when it came to that. I'm focused on just maintaining my healthy stuff, but it's been hard because I want to grow also. So it's really just kind of setting the process and sticking to a routine. And so I developed a new routine Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and everything. So I'm focused on that now. And when it comes to friendships and everything, it's like I have a couple friendships that are pretty good. They're well maintained. And then I have a girlfriend. And my friendships are doing great. I think this would be another topic that we could talk about at some point. But the spiritual aspect, the relational stuff is spiritual. The mental stuff, right now I'm listening to an audiobook, I'm listening to a few things and just kind of taking my time, and it's becoming pretty easy. Learning a few things. But yeah, so just changing up the focus and changing up the priorities, and it's pretty important to kind of reset yourself every now and then. And I like to try to do that every month. And this month has been tough. This month has been tough because I've put a lot on myself when it comes to what it is that I need to make a priority and make a focus. And I know a lot of you, and this is why I share this stuff, because I know a lot of you deal with the same kind of stuff. And it becomes overwhelming. It feels like you're not doing well enough because then the self-shame comes in when you start failing on all the different goals that you're not hitting because you put these goals on yourself, and it becomes a lot. And sometimes you put that on other people, and that's the spiritual aspect too, is you put them on other people. And I have a problem putting goals on other people too. And I think it's a natural thing to do, but it's not good because the goals are supposed to be for yourself. So it's just yeah, it's interesting. You guys can tell that I'm thinking. You guys can tell that I'm dealing with something here. But when it really just kind of comes down to what's the priority and focus and what your responsibilities are. And at the end of the day, you honestly don't have many responsibilities outside of taking care of yourself. I mean, taking care of yourself is one of the biggest things, and it's kind of paradoxical because if you just kind of take care of yourself, things just kind of happen. Things just happen anyways. Life just revolves outside of you and just happens. And if you just take care of yourself, that's pretty much all you need to do. just kind of, it's a weird thing. It's a weird, it's a weird thing. But I just want you guys to know, when it comes to that response, like, take some time for yourself. Take some time for yourself. Pause. Pause. And just, and it's not pause to like, hey, now it's like, what do I need to get rid of? It's pause and what is it that I need to make a priority and what's the focus? Well, like, what do I need to do differently, and what do I need to do to safeguard the things that I care about, and then just focus on those things, and then allow the other things to just happen. The hard part is finding out what it is. And so if you have like ideas of like, or not ideas, but if you want to share in the comments, like, what is it that you're focused on? What is your responsibilities? Like, what's your take? What's your thought process when it comes to this? Because it's simple enough to get to this point, and then the next point is, well, what do you do? Right? Like, what do you do? And that's where I think a lot of people are aware. A lot of people aren't aware of what I just said, like, this whole time. The few that are aware of what I'm talking about are kind of stuck there, and then there's fewer people that kind of go to that next step. And that's that hard transition. I mean, it's super hard to even just become aware of it. But it really kind of comes down to, like, I remember reading somewhere where those that are aware of kind of like are self-aware, actually it's worse when you become self-aware. There's a beautiful life with being naive and just kind of going through life, but then at the same time there is like a difficulty with it. But then when you become self-aware, there's like a completely different new difficulty. And then on top of it, you're aware of the difficulty. And that's a tough thing to kind of live with. And that's kind of like where I'm at. So I'm just curious about you guys. Because for me, once I'm aware of something, I want to fix it. It's like I see something happen, boom, I want to fix it. Because it's like I'm aware of it. It's like I know what the problem is. I'm gonna fix it. And that doesn't necessarily, that's where it jumps into, here's my new responsibility. I must fix it. And not everything needs fixing. Like if I'm aware of like, hey, I have an anxious disorder, or I don't even say disorder, just like an anxious time or a mode. It's like, how do I fix it? Or if I'm like, I'm feeling pretty apathetic about something, but it's important and it's a focus, how do I fix it? Usually discipline when it comes to that, commitment and discipline. And it's like, I see something broken, here we go, let's fix it. And so that's kind of like been that's why, I have what I have. And so it's kind of like this reaffirming cycle where it's because I have this agency to fix things, and then I fix things, therefore the things are fixed and things are better. That means I'm doing something well. But in life, sometimes if you fix it, you don't fix it. And then you wonder why it doesn't work, because in all other aspects of my life, when it's like with work and physical fitness and the mental resilience and disciplines when it comes to learning new things, it's like, well, when I learn something new, when I show up to work and I do the work, when I show up to the gym and do the work, I have a reward. I have a reward. It worked. And I think where the spiritual aspect, this is where I'm starting to learn. The spiritual aspect of, I mean, if you want to go to the religion, um, there's nothing for you to fix. Jesus Christ fixes all that stuff. He's kind of set it in stone. And then when it comes to relationships, you don't fix the other person. You don't fix the relationship. And so I have so much, I don't want to say cognitive bias, but I have so much I'm so affirmed when it comes to the work and the physical and the mental that that it's like, well, why doesn't it work in the spiritual? And that's the aspect that I'm learning uh, in the last couple years, and very specifically in the last month, that in the spiritual aspect of the discipline, it's the opposite. You don't try to fix. I'm gonna be 38 next month, Hog Rider. And I just thought you apply the fixing part of your responsibilities, the focus and the priorities and all that stuff across the board. I thought it was like kind of a one size fits all, but it's more nuanced than that. So it's interesting. It's interesting. Now, I don't know if the spiritual aspect, the relational stuff like friends, girlfriend or family, and all that other stuff. Now, I don't know, once again, if you're a little self-aware, it's like, I don't know if, well, maybe it is, maybe you can. This is where like the cognitive dissonance comes in, where it's like, well, maybe fixing is kind of the thing. Maybe if people around you were the same kind of person, like the agency, the hey, let's fix this, let's work on this, let's do this, let's build. Maybe that's maybe those are the kinds of people that you can be around, because maybe that's what it is. Maybe it is building across all disciplines versus, I keep using the word fix, so it's building. Maybe building across all disciplines is important if you have, people around you that want to do that too, because then it's easier. It's almost like shutting off a side of yourself if like you build everywhere, but then you can't build in this arena. Can I be specific? What the problem you're struggling to fix? I always like to. Let's give some context, I guess. But I always like to come from the position of, what is it that I can control? What is it that I can do differently? Because that's really, at the end of the day, you can't make anyone else do anything differently. So some context with my own history is that, so when I talked about family, friends, and like romantic relationships, so I'm estranged from my family. I haven't talked to my parents for over 2 years. No, 3 years. 2022, like beginning of March, February, or beginning of March and end of February, 2022. I haven't talked to them. They haven't reached out. And then my sister, I haven't talked to her since like December 22. I've tried. My brother, I'll get a message every couple months. So that's nice. I also haven't reached out much to him either. I used to all the time. So on the family aspect, there's that. And so like part of me is like detached, not necessarily apathetic, because I do have emotions about it. But a little detached, and it's like, it is what it is. I'm an adult. They're adults. It's not what I would do if I had kids. Um, it's not what I did do when I had stepkids. When it comes to friendships, I'm kind of an avoidant person. I've had my own childhood trauma with some of the stuff with a friend um, that I thought was a friend, and it's really kind of made it hard for me to main not maintain. It's hard for yeah, maintain too. It's hard for me to create and maintain male friendships because of that. In terms of when I say avoidant, it's cool. I want a friendship, but I need to keep some walls up, and I've worked pretty hard. Thankfully, I have a very safe friendship with my buddy Matt, where he's very, and I'm learning a lot from him when it comes to the avoidant attachment style for my own sake. And it's been very nice because I've been able to open up to him. He's been able to share. So like we've been able to grow something pretty good. But it's interesting. And then when it comes to romantic relationships, in my past, I've had long-term relationships that just ended, that would just end, and those have always been tough to maintain and grow and build because uh, I don't want to say because I picked wrong, but and that's part of it. But it's mainly like communication styles, vision, mission of the relationship, what direction are we going, and then part of it is actually like leading it in an effective way. Um, and so right now, when it comes to so like now that you know the context, so with the family stuff, I've kind of when I talk about responsibilities, focus, and priorities, it's I don't believe I don't have it set up as a responsibility, focus, or a priority when it comes to my parents. I barely putting in effort when it comes to my brother. Um, and then with the friendships, I'm actively like, I think it's good. Like we go golfing here and there and whatnot, and we hang out every now and then, and it's good when we do, but it's hard to kind of like have a connection. And then when it comes to the romantic relationship, when it comes to my girlfriend, I always kind of have a protection when it comes to that, and I don't like to talk about those kinds of things out in the open. But when it comes to me specifically, I have no problem talking about me. And so for me, my problem is because of those long-term relationships ending kind of terribly, to be honest, with their attitudes and whatnot. It's kind of brought on, uh, and I've talked to my therapist a lot about this, like an abandonment anxiety type thing. And I think there's obviously some, if you notice the context of my parents, they kind of just abandoned their son. And so that's just kind of how they've been for my whole life. And so that kind of brings in, romantic relationships will bring out more of that attachment that you had with your parents. So that's stuff that I've worked hard to like not bring in to the relationship. And then so like when it comes to like trying to fix things and communicate and everything like that, it's like very important to me. But it's also learning at the same time to let things play out and observe and watch. And it's an interesting thing. I guess I don't really have a specific problem or something I to like talk about. So Phoenix method adverse aces, yeah, I have an ace score of like 6 or 7 at this point. I think the only one that I don't have is a parent going to jail. I have all the others. but it's just a fun thing to. It's a fun thing. It's an interesting to talk about. And obviously, like I talked to my therapist about all this. I actually got an appointment next Tuesday. Um, yeah, it's a pretty high score. Um, yeah, look up adverse childhood experiences. Um, it's interesting. It does have an effect on you. But, at some point in your life as an adult, there comes a point where you have to grow up and work through that stuff so that you don't just keep taking it on the rest of your life. And that's what I'm talking about here when it comes to responsibilities, focuses, and priorities. But yeah, I mean, I guess like the current thing that's going on. I mean, it's like I'm not overwhelmed. Like I said, I'm not here complaining, guys. And I know with the guys here, I mean, June's men's mental health month. And so like this is why I'm even bringing it up to you guys, because I do want you guys to understand that men have feelings. This is sometimes how men feel, and we typically, and I'm the simple fact that I'm doing it online, live for you guys. It's interesting. But like when guys get around like a campfire or just get around, hang out, they like to share stuff. They don't really have time to share with anything, and honestly, society doesn't really care. Um, Society basically just tell men to be quiet and just do the work, and it's like, well, you keep adding more work to our plate, and we, just like anybody else in this world, you get overwhelmed and get tired, and so we're just taught to fix it. I think that's where the fixing thing comes in. And so when it comes to work, it's like I can only do what I can do. When it comes to physical fitness, I can only do what I can do. The mental and intellectual pursuits that I have, I can only do what I can do. We only got 24 hours in a day. I got to focus on sleep too. So maybe 16 hours. And then at the same time, we have to lead every single relationship. But not too much, not too little. And it's tough. It's tough. And the when it comes to, and I bring in Christianity every now and then because I am a Christian. I mean, I'm a confirmed Catholic, but uh, there's an aspect of it. It's like, well, if God has everything set in stone, what's free will and all that stuff? So that's an intellectual exercise of what God's providence is when it comes to your free will. And I believe this is how it goes into how I learn. So just kind of follow the logical train here. It's not necessarily, you have to think spiritually and whatnot, but this is just how I logically apply it to my life. If God's providence, which means that he set everything in stone, he set the world around you, and you have the free will, and you have free will. The way I view it is that if you're just sitting here, just for a second, if you just sit here, the world's doing its thing right now. Every single human is in their thoughts. They're working or sleeping or whatever they're doing. The nature's doing its thing. Clouds are in the sky. They're not in the sky. It's rain. Weather is weather. Climate. All this other things happen across everything. Universe. Everything. That's God's providence. He's just kind of doing it, right? When it comes to your free will, I believe it's how you respond to all of that. And I believe that, and this isn't an ego thing or anything like that, or whatever, but I'm just gonna say the words, but it's like the world is quite literally revolving around me when it comes to God's providence. It's just happening around me, not for me, but around me. And it's how I respond without entitlement to handle those situations. That's the free will. God's providence is just everything's happening. And if he's all good, right? I need to go snowboarding. If he's all good, then everything he's doing around me is for my good. So when good things happen, it's because I use my free will to respond to make things happen for me with the God-given talents. If I use the God-given talents, the talents that he wants me to do or use that he's given me, then good things will happen. If I respond terribly, bad things can happen. It's not necessarily the bad thing, not necessarily bad things, but the good things won't happen. And this is like, remember, follow the logic train here. If he gives me something that is a minor inconvenience, is actual suffering and grief, is a tough situation, those aren't bad things in my mind. They're not bad things. They're little tests here and there of how I'm going to respond. And if we all understand what tests are, and we all understand what crucibles and challenges are, if we think about the physical challenge of showing up to the gym, pushing our bodies to a certain point, and then we grow. Same thing with the mental exercises of listening to an audiobook, taking a class, and then we grow in knowledge. If he's pushing these tests and challenges and hard situations on me, if I succeed with how he wants me to succeed, I grow towards him. So life's difficulties are not necessarily bad. They feel bad. They feel tough. They feel hard. But so is going to the gym when you don't feel like it. So is showing up to work when you're feeling sick. So is maintaining relationships sometimes. And so the logic train here is that I want you guys to understand, because once again, it's Men's Mental Health Month, and I want to just share my inner thoughts here, is that when things are getting hard, or it's like too much, or it's a little exhausting, just keep doing it, maybe at a different pace. Like if you're doing a marathon and mile 7 is like it's just starting to get too hard, well, maybe walk for the next mile. Maybe walk for the next mile. So kind of the same thing when it comes to everything else. It's like maybe just kind of relax. When was the last time I just sat down and enjoyed nature just on your own? I haven't been on a hike in a while because it's been so hot, but that I used to really like doing that, going for long walks. My goal is to have a vacation for my birthday next month and go kayaking, but I'm not going to be alone on that one. I live alone. I take time for myself. It's just the nature part is really nice. When you get older, you can't take stress as well. Life is definitely a test and a challenge. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of share some of that stuff, because at the end of the day, when you feel that overwhelm, you feel the exhaustion kicking in, you feel this. It's like, well, then what's the priority? And you don't want to give up taking care of yourself. So I mean, that's your number one priority no matter what. And how I like to take care of myself is that physical, mental, and then maintaining friendships at least. When it comes to, well, then if there's like something going on, then it's a balance between space and working on it. So like the marathon, it's like work on it, like run, and then space would be like walking or just pausing to catch your breath. But then get back into it. Like that's the thing. It's like you just get back into it though. You don't quit. You don't quit. So I just want you guys to hear my side of my life because I know a lot of people on the internet, YouTubers, streamers, celebrity, whatever, like people you just read about and you don't really get to see their inner life. You kind of, I know with social media, you start to think like, well, everyone else has like this great life, but I'm dealing with real problems, and it's like, why can't I have that? It's like, guys, like we all have these things. We all have overwhelm. We all have that. It's just that a lot of people don't share it online. They share it with like, yeah, they might not even share it with their closest people. They might express it in terrible ways, to be honest. And so you guys getting to see it, I'm hoping, because it's it's Men's Mental Health Month, that it's okay. So if you're dealing with it, just keep going. Just keep going. Keep doing the work. Commit to it. Take breaks here and there. If you made a commitment, stick with it. Find a healthy way to do it. That's good for you, but still stick with it. I mean, just like with working out, it's like, oh, my left knee's been hurting me, so I'm gonna skip the gym and not do it. It's like, no, that's quitting. So I'm gonna go to the gym and at least do upper body and do some leg exercises that aren't gonna aggravate the injury. More like a rehab for the legs, but still work hard on the upper body. Friendships, things are getting tough. Maybe you can't see each other for a while, but you can still text and call here and there. Same thing with relationships is, things get tough. Maybe space is needed. Maybe sometimes just vulnerability. Honestly, vulnerability is a big thing. That's kind of what I'm showing you guys here. Just being willing to say in all three of those aspects, I'm here, but this is the capacity I have right now. It's like I'm at the gym. Here's the capacity I have right now. Here's my friendship. Here's the capacity that I have right now. Relationship, romantic relationship. I'm here, but here's the capacity I have right now. But I'm still here. Same thing with work. The capacity I have right now with the training manual is it's gonna be or not the training manual, the membership. It's gonna be a membership, and then here's the shop. That's the capacity I have right now. I have big ideas, big things I want to do, but it's not where I want it to be. So the focus and priority is like, what can I still deliver? So yeah, I just wanted to share that.